the master of the diamond cutter, has joined me. Diamond Dallas Page, what's the haps?
You know, that's one of my favorite phrases. The master of the diamond cutter.
I'll bet it is, especially after you got your just due ownership of the hand gesture. That was a difficult thing for you to do.
Well, you know, it was something that started WCW when I first started it, and you know, the whole thing with just the diamond cutter itself. One of my favorite moments ever. Jake Roberts, who is my mentor, you know, through all the early days of me wrestling, 'cause he took me under his wing, and he taught me a lot. It's one of the reasons why I've done what I've done with him, but paid him back. But he calls me in 1997, and I hadn't talked to him in maybe a year. And
this was when you were This was when you were getting really hot.
Yeah,
97,
exploding. My career was like on a rocket. It was a blur at times, you know, because it was like constantly going. You know, you wrestled 270 plus days
Jesus
a year.
Christ.
And I still did the 10-night show in Hollywood Squares. And dinner in a movie. I was doing like everything, and crazy time. And and Jake's got a much lower voice even than I do, and I hear, "Congratulations." I go, "Jake?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "What'd you say?" He goes, "Congratulations." I say, "Congratulations for what?" He said, "Reinventing the DDT."
That's got to feel good. I mean, this is the guy who invented the DDT, and now...
Yeah. To me, like, of all the wrestlers that I used to love to watch, there was plenty. I loved to watch Dusty and Superstar and all those guys.
Billy Graham, of course.
Yeah, Billy Graham. Superstar Billy Graham I loved him. But Jake was the most believable. Like, Jake really looked like, that's a bad mother.
Yeah, and you know what it was, too? Because he was never in ridiculously good shape. Like, he never was the guy who was ripped and had the muscles. Right. But you still were like, no, I'm kind of scared of that guy. And that's what made you believe that, no, if I'm scared of that guy and he kind of looks like my uncle, he's got to be really scary. Right?
Yeah, and Jake, everything he did was believable.
Yeah.
And he didn't raise his voice.
Yeah, ever. He got you. Now, let me ask you, you got a copyright on this hand, and I don't want to do it if I'm going to get in legal trouble, but on the diamond hand gesture that you know, we've seen guys like Jay-Z and that use early, correct?
Yeah. Well, for me, I really can't really talk about that. All I can say is the matter's been resolved. You know, it's a mark of what I do. You
but
know?
I'm just thinking that you had to be very smart to legally protect that hand gesture before, like, to have that thought.
Well, you know, it wasn't so much the hand gesture as it was the logo. You
the
know?
diamond itself.
Yeah, and it just a sign of what I was doing. And if you look at my DDP yoga, everything's around that sign, because it's the dynamic resistance. How you push your thumb and index fingers together, you pull your pinkies apart, you squeeze everything. Like,
I feel it. I feel it.
Like that. Just push your thumb and index fingers together. Hard.
Right.
See how your forearm, your bicep, and your pecs have to engage. Now straighten your arms out in front of you. Straight out.
Okay. All right.
And take your hands from here down. Right. You got to get so you can move.
We're doing some DDP yoga.
Now push here, like hard. Yeah. Now pull your pinkies away.
Now
your forearm, your hand,
and I feel it in the back of my arms, whatever those muscles are called.
Move the mic, slide yourself so you can put it. Okay. No, you're going to move like this. So you're not in front. You got to move. You're not going to be able to talk here.
Like this.
Okay, right, right. Okay. Now, I want you to stand up tall. Stand up tall. All right. Flex your quads. Flex your glutes.
Okay. That's my ass. Right.
Your ass,
Got it.
Now, create resistance. Keep pushing against. Keep pushing against your thumb
and your finger. Oh, boy. Right. Oh, man. I feel it.
Now bring your arms out to a T.
Okay.
Out to a T, like side to cross.
All right.
Clench your fist tight. And hook it up, Sammy.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God.
Attention. Shoulders back. Chest down, Robinson.
All right. Good. Jesus Christ, that's difficult.
But you hear every time you flex, I kid around with that thing, but it's real.
I can feel it in my chest.
That's what I'm talking about. Every time you flex or engage a muscle, your heart has to beat faster to get the blood to the muscle. That's how I developed a workout, what I call DDP yoga, taglined, "It ain't your mama's yoga."
It certainly is not. My mom could not handle that.
But it's kick-ass cardio because of that reason, the dynamic resistance. DDP yoga is kick-ass cardio. It will dramatically increase your flexibility and strengthen your core strength like never before, with minimal joint impact. And that's the key, so you don't beat up your body.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I've tried DDP. I'm not a fat guy. I'm a naturally slim guy. I'm in terrible physical condition. I'm not in good shape.
You want to change that, or you want to stay in that kind of shape?
That's what I was going to say. I've decided. I'm 30 now.
Right.
So now is the time. Metabolism's going to start slowing down.
Right.
I've got to start taking care of myself. And I've tried, and this is how I know that I'm going to feel what just happened. That little thing, I'm going to feel for days. It's true. It's true. My wife has gotten me to go to boot camp classes. And the interesting thing is that these boot camp classes are ridiculously strong workouts.
Right, yeah.
But only the girls are the ones that come back. All the guys.
Like, I'm not going back to that.
And never. Because I went to my first one. I had to stop halfway through and throw up in the garbage can. And all these girls are running circles around me and doing all these.
Pisses you off, too, doesn't it?
Yeah. I'm like, and I knew the whole time. I was like, no, I'm going to hold it. I'm going to hold it. But 45 minutes in, I was gone.
Yeah.
Gone.
For what I'm doing, and this is it's amazing. Over 65% of my sales are to men.
Yeah.
And I'd like to almost have it reversed because that's when women go crazy. But I didn't develop this workout for women. I developed it for men who were beat up from playing soccer or football or whatever sport they played growing up, or they were just getting older and they're feeling like, I better take control of this or I'm going to lose shape and I don't feel as good. So I developed this workout so there's always someone modifying the position.
Yeah.
And then there's someone doing it a little bit more challenging, and then I'm in the middle of that. And I make it like I make you believe you can do it because you can. Like, don't work that hard. Lower to a knee. Don't bust your ass. I don't want you to get to the end of the workout and go, man, that kicked my ass. I want you to go, wow, I feel great.
Yeah, but when did you figure out that doing the diamond sign created that kind of resistance? Because I would think that is a wonderful coincidence.
And that's exactly what it was.
That's it.
Sammy, everything happened by accident. Let's just go back in time. I didn't start wrestling until I was 35.
Right, which is insanity. I mean, that doesn't happen. Most of the time, when people get to 35, they've been wrestling for 10 years.
Right,
and
or more.
15, 20 years by the time they're 30.
Some of them.
That's when they quit.
Right.
And they go, this isn't going to work for me.
Well, it's just their body gets so beat up more than anything because they don't want to quit. Steve Austin retired at 37. Edge retired at 38.
And these are guys who were as hot can be.
You can't get any hotter than either two. Of course, Steve was, if he would have had the run that Hulk did, it would be Steve Austin and not Hulk.
Sure, of course.
As the guy, of all time. But I didn't start till I was 35. My career didn't take off until I was 40.
What were you doing before? Were you an athletic guy? What were you doing before 35?
I was working out. I was an athletic guy. I was playing basketball, lifting weights. But I was running nightclubs since I was
going to
22.
say, you weren't just some dude hanging out at strip clubs all the time?
No. I barely even read the strip. I went to strip clubs way more as a wrestler because, when you're out, and this is why, besides beautiful naked women.
Which is generally the appeal.
Yeah, but for us, we go to clubs and we're on TV in your living room every Monday, Thursday, and Sunday once a month, and Saturday morning and Sunday morning.
Sure.
Well, you feel like that's your brother or your uncle or whatever, so you want to go over and talk. And guys you can't even talk to women because guys are so focused on in a club talking to you.
Right. You got a whole bunch of dudes around you.
Right.
That all the girls are like, I guess that guy's busy talking to those dudes.
But you go to the strip joint, at least there's a different focus.
Right.
So wow. Okay, well, maybe don't forget Diamond Dallas Page. But I've seen guys run through women naked to get to talk to us.
Wow.
Dude, did you just see you just rolled over?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I understand you like what I did. I appreciate that.
Yeah, but look at that.
Yeah,
okay?
but you can ask me about my match with Karl Malone later.
Right.
I'm busy looking at this right now. But you were just you were an athletic guy, and you said what, at 35? Well, I think I can make a run at this.
No, I started as a manager, and it was just a dream. It was something I tried to wrestle when I was 22. So that's where it started. And then I was in my club in Fort Myers, Florida, nightclub I was running for a couple years, and my head bartender and I were just sitting there bullshitting, and my DJ, because we're counting the banks at this time, ran that Cyndi Lauper video, Girls Just Want to Have Fun. And
sure.
that had Captain Lou Albano, Nikolai was in that, a couple of the boys. So I'm watching that, and I just go, rockin' wrestling. I should have been a part of that. And I walked away because I felt that I would have been in the middle of all that if I just paid my dues. And I didn't. And it really comes down to timing, right? So I go in the back, and Smokey comes back. He's like, hey.
Smokey?
Smokey was his name, yeah.
Okay.
Smokey was his name. He goes, hey, Paige. He goes, what do you mean rock and wrestling? You should have done that. And now everybody's bringing the drawers, and we all got our beers, we got our shots. To tell you when it is, this is like 1987, end of 87. We're drinking Goldschlager, which is schnapps with gold in it.
Uh-huh.
All right, so we've got that all lined up. And we're doing shots while we're counting the money and everything, right?
Yeah.
And he goes, so what was that all about rock and wrestling? And I said, well, I tried it when I was a kid. And he said, well, what was your name? And I said, well, I was a big fan of Handsome Jimmy Valiant. I went by Handsome Dallas Page. And Smokey goes, whew, you can forget about doing that gimmick now. I was like, fuck you, blah, blah. And then we start drinking. And I just go, out of nowhere, I just go, what about Diamond Dallas Page? I go, that's my birth sign. DDP. Boy, I can hear people chanting that right now. Woo, shot, boom, boom. Then a little bit later, it was like, Jimmy Hart has the Hart Foundation. What if I had the Diamond Exchange? Oh, yeah. Drink, shot.
And so you're coming up with these ideas.
Drinking.
Because normally, but you don't get to come into a wrestling outfit with your own ideas.
Well,
like, you're a guy and they go, okay, here's what we're going to stick you with. Not, I'm Diamond Dallas Page. I'm here to manage the Diamond Exchange.
With the Diamond Dolls.
With the Diamond Dolls. Yeah.
But they thought I was already doing it somewhere else because I made this video of these wrestlers and these chicks are in scantily clad outfits, and I put them all in this thing and I sent it to the AWA. And when they got it, they called me immediately. They wanted, because they were losing talent all to the WWF.
Sure.
And so they were trying to bring in new guys, and they were like, we want to bring you in for a tryout. And I'm just like, oh, God. And he's going, but we got a question for you. We see you out there, and I brought it around. A lot of guys like your stick, but where are you guys working?
You're going, oh, no, wrong question.
And long story short, I just said, well, those guys can't wrestle. And he's like, what? And I was like, well, they want to learn, but, it's like a secret society and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, well, don't call us, we'll call you. And I was like, oh, man, so close. And then Paul Heyman, back then Paulie Dangerously, he leaves the AWA and takes his wrestlers and goes to the NWA.
Right.
So it left a huge void. That's how I got the gig.
So you're a Paul Heyman guy.
Well, I'm a Paul Heyman guy.
Because he left a void.
He left a huge
He created
void.
your job.
Well, he did. And it would happen, I would end up following him because once I got the AWA gig, well, now the WWE brings me in for a tryout. Back to WWF at the time, I didn't get the job. It was for a color commentating, file Jesse Ventura, which I never could have. Mm-hmm. Today I could, but back then I couldn't. Mm-hmm. And then they brought me into WCW to try out because Heyman wouldn't sign his contract. Now, of course, I'm sure he signed his contract, and they never got back to me until Dusty came in, and then they brought me in. So I came in this 4 years of being a wrestler in independence, wherever I could get any kind of work, because I was running the nightclub. I was making great money.
Yeah.
It was costing me money to be Diamond Dallas Page. So for 4 years.
You just liked performing.
I just knew I was supposed to be a part of it.
Right.
Never knowing where it was going to go.
Mm-hmm.
I just hoped to be a manager because I was too old to be a wrestler.
You thought.
Yeah, right. And who wouldn't think?
And then, 10 years later, you become the champion.
Right.
It's a very strange story.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you, though, because then, and it gets even weirder, because 10 years later, you become the champion. Now you're deep into your 40s, and then you finally, WCW gets sold off, and you get your WWE run.
Which, I was such a mark, and that also hurt me, because I was such a mark wanting to be a part. I watched when it was the WWF, the Worldwide Wrestling Federation.
So when you're in WCW and you're the champion, do you wish you were in WWF?
Yes.
You do?
Yes, even though we were kicking their ass.
Yeah, and you're the top guy.
Yeah, right.
But you wanted to be in WWF.
I knew I was going to end there. That's how everything I have ever envisioned, I have manifested into a reality.
So you read The Secret?
I know The Secret.
Yes.
And the real secret is you got to work at it.
Yeah.
And they don't tell you that in The Secret.
You got to think, and then you also got to do it.
Yeah. You have to really manifest it by working towards it.
Right.
And that's like the thing they sort of left out of The Secret. That's The Secret. But I do believe in all that power manifestation. But mine really comes from a guy who's a mentor to me with that. I've met him just recently, but Tony Robbins had a lot to do with my success because I couldn't read. I grew up with ADD and dyslexia and was reading at a third grade level at the age of 30.
At 30?
At 30.
You were a slow starter.
And I found ways around it because I just assumed I was never going to really be able to read. And what Tony had these tapes. So I bought the tapes as opposed to reading the book. And I started to apply a lot of those principles when it came to wrestling. You know, like,
what kind of principles?
Find something, like, it didn't matter what it was, whether it's wrestling or actor, whatever it was, you know, businessman, entrepreneur. Find someone who's doing what you want to do. And then study them. Take what works from you and make it your own.
That's what I was thinking, because I knew you were going to say something along those lines, but I feel like people try to do that, but instead of taking this from here and that from there, you see people just try to mimic someone's career.
Well, that don't work.
No, because the person that you're mimicking, he didn't mimic somebody else. He took, like Ryan Seacrest took a little bit from Dick Clark, a little bit from Casey Kasem.
That's a great analogy.
But you see all these young guys that are just trying to follow the Ryan Seacrest model. And it's like, if the model wasn't there for him, it's not going to be there for you, is it?
You know, A to Z. And like for me, for interviews, I took a little piece of Captain Lou Albano. I took a little bit from Classy Freddie Blassie, a little bit from Dusty Rhodes, a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit from Jake, maybe more than a little bit from Jake Roberts. And then when it came to wrestling, it was like a piece of Terry Funk, a piece of Kurt Hennig, a piece of Randy Savage. Ooh, yeah, brother. One of the greatest feud I ever had. It was just amazing. And a lot from Jake Roberts, because Michael P.S. Hayes and us were a lot alike, but I never really took anything from him because we were already so alike. And that's why we both liked each other's gimmicks, because we were a lot alike.
So where did you feel, when you got to WWE, was it like, I'm finally home? Was it like, this wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be?
Oh, yeah. Well, that what had happened was, you got to remember that there was a war going on. For 4 or 5 years, I guess it was. Whatever it was, we kicked ass in that war for 2 of those years and almost put WWE out of business.
Well, and more than that, WCW was going out of their way to put WWE out of business.
I think that, you know, I don't think Bischoff ever really wanted to put him out of business. He just wanted to knock him out. You know what I mean? And that's really, and that's what's the way he performed, no matter what, because he was a fighter.
He wanted to win.
He wanted to win.
If that meant they're going out of business, they go out of business.
They out of business.
But whatever it is, I want to be the guy who wins.
And he's very competitive. And hey, when he used to tell me, because I know him back from a pull-apart fight that we got in AWA. You know,
who won?
We never got anywhere. We never got to each other.
Got pulled apart too quick?
Yeah, because we were both shit-faced.
Who do you think would have won?
Stop.
Okay. Even drunk. Even shit-faced.
Nah, I don't care. Because he was drunker than me on top of that. But I'll tell you what the really cool part about Eric Bischoff. And we don't even talk that much anymore. Not if you don't talk at all. But
intentionally or just?
I just think he's just so in his own world now. But back then, when we first had that altercation, the next morning, I was getting up to go see how tough he was in the morning. I was going to jump in his ass. I mean, that was when I was up. I was hot, and then I hear, it's knocking on the doors. I think it's the maid. So I open the door and it's him. And he's standing there with his leather jacket on, and he got that gray silver hair, and it's down to his past his shoulders at this point. He's a rock and roll looking dude. And he looks at me and he goes,
what year was this?
88 or 89. I think it's 88.
He had silver hair in 88.
At 20, he had silver hair. Yeah.
Okay, so go on.
So he says, I heard I was a real asshole last night. I said, yeah, I was just on my way down to see you, as a matter of fact. He goes, well, I'm here. He was so hungover.
He needed to get filled in on exactly.
He was so hungover. And he says, well, there's 2 ways we can handle this. Now, you got to remember, I've been running nightclubs for 10 years at this time. So I've heard every excuse to get back in the bar ever. And he says, here's 2 ways we can handle this. 1, he goes, you accept my apology and you shake my hand. 2, and back then he had those 3 caps in the front, and he took his front 3 teeth out.
Jeez, this isn't showbiz Eric Bischoff that we've all gotten used to.
He said, punch me in the mouth.
but he took his caps out first.
He took the bridge out first, you know? And I just started laughing. I was like, dude, that's the greatest comeback comment ever. I said, I would much rather shake your hand.
Of course.
And we shook hands, and that was that. Now he comes down to WCW to try out. And it's like a year and a half later, and Dusty Rhodes pulls me aside. He says, this kid Bischoff that's coming in. I said, nah, the name sounds familiar, but I can't place it. Because I only met him that night. That's all I met him, And Dusty said, well, he's Jim Hurd's guy, and he was running the company for Turner at the time. And he goes, hey, if he's an asshole, he goes, stuff him. He goes, but if he's a good guy, he goes, help him out. So when he walks through the door, he's really late, and I got to be down at TV. I'm managing the Freebirds at the time. And when he walks through the door, I know him exactly. He looks like that Ken doll. He's got the perfect hair and suit on. But I recognize him from his face. And I go, hey, dude. I go, how you doing? I go, we got to go to the back. We got to do this really quick because he's going to do play-by-play or color, play-by-play, and I'm going to do color. So Dusty tells me, he said, we want to hear it like Gordon. We want him to call the moves, and then you call the color on it.
Like Gordon Soley.
Exactly.
Yes.
So that's what they're looking for.
Yes.
So he gets done with that first round of us doing it, and I go, listen, dude, I go, they really don't want two guys doing color. If you want to get this job, you needed to know the moves. I said, so you should call them sort of like Gordon Soley would do. So we do it again. We get halfway in. I realize he don't know any of these moves.
He doesn't know any of the moves.
Don't know. He don't know.
He got him. Yeah. He hit him hard with that one. That's a big shot to the the body.
And I'm looking at him like this. I'm like, and I go, hold on a second. Let's start over again. I go, you don't know the moves, do you?
Right.
And he's like, no, I really don't. You don't do that up there. I go, okay, I'll call it out. Collar and elbow lockout, blah, 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 blah. Or you say that, and then I'll comment, blah, blah, blah. So we do about 4 or 5 times. I stop, and I tell him what to say, basically. Right. So on the last time, I go, okay, I think he's got it. Let's wrap this up. I think this will be really good. And he still goes, hold on a second. He goes, can I ask you a question? I said, yeah. He goes, do you remember me? He said, yeah, you're the guy I almost got in a fight with in the AWA. And he goes, okay, just checking. Yeah. Because he thought I was going to bury him.
So how was he, fast forward, whatever it was, 10 years, and how is he as your boss?
Well, I told him I was going to be a wrestler. He got the gig. So we're driving to do color commentating and play-by-play together on these shows that we're doing. And at one point I said, they're not going to let me manage anymore. I'm going to go become a wrestler. And he started laughing. He goes, are you fucking crazy? He goes, your body will never be able to take it.
Because you got to be what, almost 40 at that point?
I was 35 and a half at that time.
Okay.
Yeah. And I was like, no, dude. I said, I know how to, I've been reading a lot, and I've got the deep muscle massage therapy going and the chiropractic. I said, I think I can do it. I just got to get a couple of years in so I have some credibility to be a color commentator. And
that was the goal?
That was the goal.
Wrestle for a few years so then you can go back to color.
Yes, because I knew I was a fourth string color commentator.
Uh-huh.
I wasn't like, sitting on the Saturday Night Live or Saturday 605 show.
Right.
I was like in Moose Breath, Iowa at 2 a.m. So the next guy, we were the fourth string team. Mm-hmm. The next wrestler that has any kind of shtick who decides to retire, I've lost my job.
Smart.
So I figure I had 7 months on my deal.
Yeah.
They can't fire me because I have 7 months. They can't cut me in this original contract.
Right.
And so I went down that power plant, and they tried to beat the fuck out of me because that's what they do every place you ever go. Mm-hmm. And when it comes to wrestling, they try to run you off because if you can't take this, you sure as hell can't take that.
Right.
So they try to run you off, and I wasn't going anywhere.
So get back to So working with Eric Bischoff, I would assume you guys grew a friendship and it was good. Was he okay as a boss?
He was good. He was really fair.
Yeah.
He took care of a lot of people.
Did people get upset with you feeling like you had special treatment because you guys had that relationship?
Sort of, but he never took care of me like that.
He didn't.
Here's what he never. It was. I never got paid. Never got. When I was 97 and 98. Yeah. When I was in 13 out of about 24 pay-per-view main events. Or co-main event. Yeah. I made $275,000 and $295,000 when everybody made 7 figures.
Yeah. I mean, you had a whole thing. That was when Scott Hall and Kevin Nash were there. That was when Hulk Hogan was there, and all these guys are making millions of dollars and calling their own shots.
And I could have renegotiated my deal at any point in time.
You should have.
And I waited because I wanted to have that stroke They did not want me to go to WWF at that time.
So you're sitting there, let me spend a couple years building this up so I can come to them and say, look, we both know now you need me.
And Eric and I were so tight at that point, I was like, dude, I'm not talking to you about my money. I think I should, what do you think about me going and talking to Harvey Schiller? He goes, that's what I was going to suggest.
So go straight to the money guy.
Go to the main guy.
So we don't fuck this thing up that we have going on.
Right. And it just, Eric, the thing that Eric Bischoff did for me that I never really appreciated till I went to the WWF, he protected me. When guys tried to fuck me, he went, no, that's not Paige. No, he's not doing that.
And how does somebody try to fuck you?
Oh, God, did you hear what Dallas did? Do you know what he's telling Benoit? Do you know what he's telling him and how he's telling him to do it and blah, 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 blah. And normally, then the other guy who wants you to lose your spot.
Yeah.
And then the other guy, these are bookers, by the way, the guys who write the shit. But Bischoff's still in charge of it. And I've already proven myself by this time. And I have had to overcome everything. There's a point in time when Bischoff and I were drinking, because we're always drinking back then, and we lived freaking down the street from each other. Dusty Rhodes' wife, Michelle, sold us both our houses.
Right.
And didn't know because she wasn't even from that area. So she didn't realize they were on both sides of the streets. And she'd come in like a couple of weeks in between. And we had bought houses across the street from each other, not knowing it. We thought we were both bullshitting each other when we told, no, I'm on Shannon Green. I'm on Shannon Green. I'm on Shannon Green.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was crazy. And that's how our relation. And we both were making no money back then. We were making enough to survive. And so we went through a lot of times together.
So Vince McMahon, then, he did not protect you when you got to WWE.
Well, Vince has, again, it was the war. It was the war.
So there was still a stigma attached to the WCW guys when they came in.
Well, they just bought us. We lost. Here's the really fucked up part of the war.
Yes.
Jamie Kilner from Warner Brothers comes in.
Okay.
And he's like the guy in charge of everything at that time. And he says to Brad Siegel, Eric Bischoff's buying this company. $50 million and taking all the contracts, all of them, which is about $40 million. Hulk's contract, my contract, Nash's, they had guarantees.
Yeah.
So he's going to buy all that. WCW, Brad Siegel at the time, would not sell the company to Bischoff unless he took a 10-year contract on TBS because that was the top-rated show, and they wanted to make sure they had another 10 years of WCW.
Okay.
So Bischoff really wanted to take it to like a CW or a Fox or somebody else. But, that was part of the deal. Kilner came in and he said, we're not going to do that. Cancel wrestling. Wait a minute. Hold on a second. Bischoff's going to pay $50 million. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, we're not going to be the wrestling network anymore. Cancel wrestling. Don't take 3 months and go let Bischoff go try and sell another deal. So it was swept out from under. We were doing.
So you're saying they say, no, this week it's on, next week it won't be on.
Right. Next, 3 weeks it's gone.
So you got no time to package something and sell to a network.
That he could have done.
Okay.
Because Bischoff was brilliant like that. He's one of those guys with Herbie. They got about 9 shows they've had on the air.
Dude, they put out that Scott Baio reality show.
It was good. They 2 years after they did a lot. They're doing a lot of shows.
Yeah.
So it's not like they're just guys who don't know their shit. They do. And he could have sold that and it really turned everything around. Who knows where it would have went? But all of a sudden, the show on Nitro that was doing between a 3.8 and a 4.2 is getting canceled. Not because people aren't watching the show. It's not where it was in the heyday. But the WWE does a 3.8 or a 4.2 today. They're happy.
Yeah, that's huge.
They're pumped.
Yeah.
Okay, we were doing that because it was Coke and Pepsi. Whether they were winning at that time or not, which they were.
Yeah.
And they probably won for about a year, but they weren't crushing us. We were still doing pretty damn good. We had our fans.
Yeah.
And
you're still getting better ratings than Robin Hood the series.
Yeah. We're still the number 1 rated show on that program or that network.
So then
that guy Kilner killed it. And what really pissed me off because I knew I was going to I knew WWE wanted me. Whether they wanted me to make an example of,
right?
Because they say, hey, who won the war?
Mm-hmm.
We did, because we just putting the best against the best. We're just going to totally, it's storyline.
Yeah.
I never even got a pay-per-view match with Taker. Like, really?
Right. Yeah, that was a weird thing. They bring you in,
big
and they
push.
give you a big build-up.
Yeah.
And you come in, and you're stalking Undertaker's wife.
Which was absurd.
Big reveal, it's you.
Let me tell you, you've seen my ex-wife? Again, in retrospect, seriously, Sammy, in retrospect, I don't give a fuck. And I'll tell you why. It was not the smartest business move I made in my wrestling career, but I made some pretty damn smart ones going up and into that. But where it really helped me was it taught me to walk away from the table. And I should have just, when they said that, I was like, I've got this idea about People's Champion versus People's Champion. And I should have ran with that and just stayed focused on that and said, awesome, this is a great idea, Vince, but it's just not for me.
This is what I want to do.
Right. And
Rock DDP.
Right. And when you want to do that, just give me a call.
That's it.
That's what I should have done. And I didn't. So now let me tell you, the reason why DDP Yoga is a multi-million-dollar company.
Yes.
Because I walk away from the table if the deal's not right.
Well, I was going to say, I feel like, and so when you come back as Positively Paige,
right.
Was that your idea?
Absolutely. And it was,
is that
turn babyface idea, though.
Is that the time when you start getting into motivational speaking? And
I'd already been doing it.
For a long time.
Yeah, well, to kids. I've done it to a lot of kids, and I saw that. That was my vision of where I was going to go. Never really knowing that it was going to become DDP Yoga and inspiring people at a whole different level.
Right, and that's kind of where it went. Were you okay at that point not being the main event guy, or were you frustrated?
I knew I was going to work right back to that spot.
Okay.
And because that smiley, it's not a bad thing, it's a good thing guy was going to become a crossbreed between the bang guy and the positive guy that made everything happen my whole life. I was 46, though, and when I took that bad bump on my neck, and I almost broke my neck and quadriplegic myself.
Jesus.
I mean, that my doctor was like, I don't know how it didn't. that yoga shit you're doing's got to be working because you should be a cripple right now. And I was very thankful that I wasn't. And I took 2.5 years, went to LA, did the acting thing, started really, really taking the whole DDP Yoga thing to a different level, and then went back to TNA for a year and said, okay, watch this 49-year-old man smoke it out there. And I did. Me and Raven had some great matches. They weren't matches from 98.
Right.
But they were matches in 2004, 2005, whatever it was, and they were some damn good matches.
Now, I got to say, I was thinking about this, and I feel like now you've gone from wrestling to becoming maybe the best promoter in the business, which is a huge deal in the business of pro wrestling because it's all promoting.
Exactly.
You have done something, you've been promoting DDP Yoga forever, and DDP Yoga is something that a lot of wrestlers have talked about. Zack Ryder will drop it.
Yep.
Would drop DDP Yoga for no reason, just because it's funny to say.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And he does it. And he really does it.
And it works. And Jericho's doing it and all this stuff.
That's the big one. Jericho made it. He made it accessible to everybody.
And you told me last time we talked that Rob Zombie's done it.
Yeah, Rob Zombie wrote the foreword to Yoga for Regular Guys.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Here, though, to me, when I was like, okay, this is where I can trust the product, is when you say, okay, I'm going to get Jake the Snake Roberts and Scott Hall
right.
and Razor Ramon.
Right.
And these are the two most notorious, drunk, addicted,
pills, everything.
like tragic, like over 10 years.
Right.
Anytime a wrestler dies and the conversation of who's next comes up,
sure,
these are the names that get dropped.
Yep.
And what you do is you say, I'm moving these guys into my house. I'm going to get them on a DDP Yoga regimen. And when I knew that what blew my mind was that you put it on the internet you actually did it at the beginning. You didn't do the whole thing and then tell the people.
Right.
Because if this thing doesn't work, and these are two guys that have gotten sober and gotten clean and messed it up over and over and over again. So if this thing doesn't work, your whole brand gets
tarnished.
Fucked. Like, you know what I mean? Tarnished, I guess, would be the word. But, I mean, at any point, either now or then, did you think to yourself, maybe this is a risk I shouldn't have taken?
More than anything, when it first happened, like it was my business partner, Steve Yu. He's brilliant. He's the one who took that Arthur video and just, because we had original video that me and his son and him had done. And it's actually pretty good, but it wasn't what that video has now 10 million views or just under 10 million views. And
that's the video. I'm sure if you've ever heard an interview with DDP, you've heard about it. It's the guy who goes from like not being able to move to being a fully mobile, in shape dude. It's a great video.
And Steve said, if you're really going to help Jake, I think it'd be better if we were around all the time. Like if he moved to Atlanta, I go, dude, you don't have to move anywhere. You can do it, in your own home. Yeah. You can do it anywhere. You know that. He goes, yeah. He goes, but this is Jake Roberts. He goes, don't you think you'd have a much better chance being around us? Because Steve's in the process of doing a movie called It Inspired the Movie. I mean, he's all about inspiring and changing people's lives. More than the money, more than everything. We're more about changing lives than anything and getting people to own their lives. And I thought, wow, Jake living with me again. Because he lived with me for like 3 months, and I had to, when he lost the 12-foot black cobra in the house, Kimberly said, he's out of here. I don't care what he's doing for you. But, didn't really know. I've been living with women for the last 20 years. I didn't really know if that was going to work. But Jake was so grateful, and still is today, wouldn't let me do things. Like, he had to do things for me because I was doing something for him. Like, if I was sitting down and I just got done eating, he'd go grab my plate. I go, dude, give me my plate. He goes, sit down, dude.
Yeah.
Like, he wanted to do something back for me, you know? And I said, just do what you're doing and take care of yourself. Everything else will work out.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. And then he got down like 60 pounds after that 6 months.
But there was a moment where he relapsed.
Oh, yeah, but that was just drinking.
But you documented it.
Yeah, because it was still a big deal. But you got to remember, the biggest thing with him, when I'm interviewing him the first time, and I say to him, so when's the last time you did crack? Now, he'd been in rehab like 9 months, 10 months earlier. So I'm thinking he's going to say, 9 months ago or whatever before that was. Maybe he relapsed or whatever. Maybe he's going to say 6 months ago. He goes, last month. No,
and by the way, if he says last month,
yes, he meant yesterday.
Yes, yes,
you got it.
Yes.
So I was like, oh God, and then we film him, and he gets up, and I think I'm going to do a workout with him, but he can't do a workout. So I'm going to take him through, and you'll see when you do the program, the Diamond Dozen.
I'm going to do the program.
I'm awesome, man. I'll be right there with you, dude. I'm all the way, because anybody who actually puts the work in, especially connected, I'll take you through it and literally walk you through it. And I took him through the Diamond Dozen, which is like I tell you what to do in the move, then I say, okay, now you do it with me. So this is like, it's not really moves. It's just the movement. And after 2 of them, he's got to sit down. I'm like, what?
This is going to be long.
This is like a tutorial.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, dude. And Jake, I've never known Jake to have a work ethic. But then again, I didn't know Jake when he was a kid breaking into the business and how hard he worked back then. But when it came to him so natural after that, well, then he was like, fuck it, I already know what I'm doing. Smoke a cigarette. Okay, I'm ready to go.
And that's it. So tell me, you got Jake Roberts and Scott Hall in the house. Who else do you want to do this with? My feeling, I know Mick Foley.
No, but I don't want to do it the way I did it with him, though. I don't want to. I didn't.
Well, Mick Foley's not a guy you need. He doesn't have
a need rehab problem.
Nothing like that.
No, he don't even drink.
But no, and he's just a pleasant dude.
Yeah.
But physically, do you think? Because he's limping everywhere.
Dude.
He's put his body through hell.
Let me tell you what he said, because there's twice Mick has come and worked out with me, and I can't put him in a class, or it's like we're working with Jake. He is so limited.
Yeah, and
you've got to eat real food if you're in this much of a mess. The only reason a disabled veteran ever happened in work, he ate real food to go with a workout that's minimally joint impact on your body.
Yes.
It's not beating, basically no impact. And you're getting the cardio and you're getting stronger, but you're not just stretching, you're strengthening. You're not just your muscles, but your ligaments, your tendons. It's all connected with my workout. So for Foley, after he started and stopped, I finally said to him, listen, I will move in to your house for a week. I'll come up to your house.
Yeah.
We'll film it. We'll do the whole thing.
Yeah.
I'll show your wife why, how she's going to help heal her husband, because he's beat up his body for the family. He's got 4 kids, but they need to know too, because daddy's not going to hold up much longer. So Mick says, okay, well, I think the breaking point, I'm not at my bottom yet. His bottom is going to Disney World and needing the cart to get around. That's where he wants to be before he starts.
Wow.
Yes, he said
he
that.
has to get there before he can do it.
Like, I want to slap him when he says that, And he went to Disney World. He didn't need the cart. So he didn't show. And then last week, no bullshit. I'm not kidding, Sammy. Last week or 2 weeks ago, he calls me and says, "All right, he texts me. I'm coming through Atlanta. Can I come by the crib? Can he come by? Come by and stay for a couple of days."
Yeah.
Now we're texting back and forth. And I've got it blocked out. 3 days. Foley's coming in. Last minute, got to go back to New York. Not going to make this trip. I go, "Hey, dude, whenever you're ready, I'm here." And I mean, he's the guy. But I'll tell you right now, Jimmy Duggan right now, I'm going to help him rehab back from this shoulder injury that he had. And if you go to Indiegogo, INDIEGOGO.com and just search Jim Duggan. I didn't do the fundraiser thing for him because I'm not even though I helped Scott and Jake, but I know how to do it.
Yes.
So I gave Jimmy, I said, "Here's what I would do, bro. You got that bad shoulder. Jim has to pick his hand up and he'd put one finger in his mouth to hold his finger there. And then he'd take the contact and put it in his eye
because he can't hold his arm up.
Because he can't lift his arm.
Yeah.
He can lift it like this and then it falls.
Yeah.
And Jim is 60 years old. He still needs to work, and he doesn't know any other job besides wrestling.
Right.
So he knows how to be limited out there, but he needs his arm. And he's given his life to this business.
Yeah.
He's one of the most upstanding. I get choked up thinking about it because he's such a sweetheart guy. And I told him, I said, "Bro, you do it all like this, and then I'll throw in accountability crib. I'll put $1,000 for the night. They come in. I'll be there too." I said, "And we'll you come into my house and stay for the night." He's like, "Dallas." He goes, That's way over. That's far and beyond." I go, "Like, dude." Did it for Jake for like 5 people.
Yeah, we could do
this. Just come on down because you're going to start. We'll start talking about I got him focusing on the food now, and so eventually it'll help him rehabilitate his body. So that's a guy I'm going to help come back out from this injury, and I hope to God Foley at some point I don't want him to be so crippled he can't walk at all.
Of course.
It's just so much harder. It's so much harder.
Well, look, I got to release you to your next interview. I could talk to you for hours. You're easy guy to talk to, DDP. Go to ddpyoga.com. You can tweet him at ddpyoga. You can go to Dallas Page on YouTube. Whatever you want to do, but I think ddpyoga.com.
You know what? One of the things that I even tell people, don't listen to a word I said about anybody, about anything. Just go to YouTube. I mean, not YouTube. You go to YouTube at DDP TV, but because you'll see all that there. But Facebook, one word, DDP Yoga. Read what people write. You can't make people chant DDP or Stone Cold.
And guess
what? You can't make them right on the internet. You can't make
Stone Cold is Steve Austin's doing it. And you know what?
Well, he's not yet. Steve Austin's yet. He's putting it over.
He's endorsing.
He's endorsing because he knows.
And I still feel it in my chest.
Are we going to really do this?
Yeah, I swear to God.
Okay, awesome. Cool.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
All right, man. Thank you so much for stopping by, DDP.
It's been your pleasure.
Yes, it has.